You often hear the term deep state, and people wonder, well, what does the deep state mean? What does that mean? It reminds me of a priest who once said to me, "Parish councils come and go, but I remain." The elected representatives of the people move along, but there is someone who's always there, and in this case, it's the bureaucrats in Washington, D.C.
The deep state has been a puzzling and difficult to deal with problem, and it's been a problem for the last 30 to 40 years.
I mean, the current fight that we're seeing right now with the deep state and our FOIA practice, our government accountability project, is something that really began back in 2011, 2012.
So one of the largest lawsuits we've ever had is our case against the IRS.
There were some boneheaded decisions out of a
but
local
no
office.
mass corruption.
Not even mass corruption, not even a smidgen of corruption.
What created the need for our government accountability project was the IRS cases. When we got one call, and then 8 calls, and then 20 calls of groups that were specifically targeted because of their name.
And we knew that there would be more people who may want to add, but we didn't know just how many. And we're now looking at somewhere around 100 different contacts have come in.
I have not done anything wrong. I have not broken any laws.
We want to know why you didn't give tax-exempt status to certain organizations because they had Christian names attached to them, or because they had liberty related to them, or because they didn't follow the liberal leftist line.
Ms. Lerner, why would you say Tea Party cases were very dangerous?
I will not answer any questions or testify about the subject matter of this committee's meeting.
She just testified. She just waived her Fifth Amendment right to privilege. You don't get to tell your side of the story and then not be subjected to cross-examination. That's not the way it works.
Of course, Lois Lerner had to apologize.
They used names like Tea Party or Patriots, and they selected cases simply because the application had those names in the title. That was wrong. The IRS would like to apologize for that.
I say apology not accepted, okay? So we wanted action. An apology was not enough. We wanted the IRS to stop its practices.
A lot of attorneys would probably tell them, just go along with what the IRS wants, or stop what you're doing. This isn't worth fighting.
We took on the Internal Revenue Service. That was pretty unheard of. Nobody did a direct challenge to the IRS because of the way they were enforcing laws, regulations, and policy.
Jeff Sessions settles several lawsuits with the Tea Party and other conservative groups targeted by the IRS back in 2010 under then leader Lois Lerner.
Currently, there are pieces of legislation that want to re-empower the IRS, but it's actually legislation that would protect IRS officials, and it would actually make it legal.
There is a move right now in Congress to undo the very victory we had in court, including the decree, the consent decree, that the IRS executed, and allow these bureaucratic deep state operatives to go after conservative organizations.
The best way to define the deep state is to indicate that it is a permanent bureaucracy within government with its own independent agenda. And it does not necessarily see that it is bound by the rule of law.
They don't do what the elected public wants them to do. They do what in their mind is the thing that is appropriate to do.
And it can actually trample on the constitutional rights of the average American.
Transparency is key to any democracy. If we allow leaders in Washington, D.C. to make decisions behind closed doors, unaccountable to the people, then we are going to get corrupt decisions.
So if you're an elected official, the thing you're often most focused on making sure you continue to be an elected official. Apart from that, your responsibility is to reflect the will of the people that you have been elected to represent.
We started years ago after the victory with the IRS case, a government accountability project where we have expanded in a great way our FOIA practice. We believe that our government officials should be held accountable.
One of the best protections that we have as the American people is the ability to participate in the government process. And one of the best tools is called the Freedom of Information Act, or FOIA. This is a law that says since we are a government of the people, that we have a right to see how our government is functioning.
And so with FOIA requests, you rarely receive the documents that you actually ask for.
So what we do when we see that is we say, fine, you don't want to give it to us, perhaps a judge will give it to us. And the judges have said to those agencies, give up that information, take out the redactions.
Without transparency, we don't have our way of government.
As a former cabinet official, I can tell you when you get these requests from the media, that you have to really look at all of the information that hasn't been released. You have to ask yourself, why hasn't this information been provided to the public? If there's not a good explanation, then you should release it.
One of our current cases is ACLJ versus the National Security Administration. This is the case that involves the waning days of the Obama administration when there was an explosion of what are called unmasking requests. This is when an official, someone who has taken an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States, makes a request to unmask, to reveal the identity of a U.S. citizen.
They were flagrantly violating U.S. law and the protections afforded to U.S. citizens.
We, the public, through organizations like ACLJ, must continue to pressure the U.S. government in order to make sure that we get the background information and that we hold our leaders to account.
I hear all the time from people, like, what can I do? I'm just one person, I'm a single voice, and one of the best ways to make your voice heard is to sign a petition.
The power of Washington, D.C. only works when the rest of us, the rest of Americans, are kept in the dark.
People are being inundated with scandal after scandal. There's so many scandals on Monday, only to be overtaken by scandals on Tuesday. And by the time you reach Wednesday, you forgot about what happened on Monday. And so we at the ACLJ believe people need to be held accountable. And that's why we need the ACLJ now more than ever.